Shortest book by pages on your TBR list, your to be read. So the first one I read, why is this? Oh, I know why that's on there, because she was reading it. This is a book by, and I hope I get the author's name right, Nikita Gill, and she is a well-known poet as of this century. And this one is called Where Hope Comes From. Did I get this from Barnes & Noble? No, I didn't. I got this at Target. But the reason I chose it was because, look what's on the cover. It's a lighthouse, people. Me, lighthouses, ships, mermaids, everything nautical, you name it. And the one thing that if you want to surprise me, send me Post-it notes, people, especially these little plastic tabs, because I cannot read a book without Post-it notes. And there's so many poems in here that are just wonderful to read. And the one that stood out for me, yes. So if you've heard of Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Marquez, she actually has a poem in here called Love in the Time of Coronavirus. And what this is a collection of poetry where she's telling us that no matter what happens, to hold on to the simple things, hold on to those memories, reflect, learn to recommit to living a life even in the most impossible of times, which unfortunately we are still going through at this time. COVID cases are back on the rise again, people. So please be aware of that. But if you're someone who has been in the brinks of giving up so easily, don't. Check this book out. I guarantee you it will change you. And this, I actually have a list of my book recommendations. And so this book is definitely one of those book recs that's right up there, along with Lessons in Chemistry. The next couple of book tasks, a book talk recommendation. So if you've heard of TikTok, there's also something called Book Talk. And so the one that was recommended on that one that was different from the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is this one. It's called A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah, what's her name? Sarah Mass. This one has been extremely popular. So this is a library book that I borrowed. A book you bought secondhand. So, there's another bookstore that I go to most of the time for books that have been already read, used, and resold. It's called The Open Book, and it's located in Northridge. I already read the first one. I want to go back to Denmark. The first book I read was called The Little Book of, and I really, really, really hope I get the title right. I think it's called The Book of Huga. This one is called The Little Book of Luca or Luga. It depends on how you pronounce it. But the Danish Search for the World's Happiest People. Look at this little thing. It is so cute. And I remember I actually ended up reading the first one when I went in for my second procedure last year. And I actually finished the book before they even brought me into the operating room. So I was going to do that again when I had my adult tonsillectomy back in October, but that didn't happen. I didn't even have time. So this one looks really, really cute, and I'm going to take a gander on this one too. A book your friend recommended. My dear Laura Buttercup Mossman, this is for you. I finally caved in, and I'm going to read Wally Lamb's She's Come Undone. This is a New York Times bestseller. This is the 20th edition. And guess what? It's actually part of Oprah's book club. So this can also go under a book that's on a celebrity book club list. So you might want to take a gander on this one. So She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb. I have seen this on my friend's shelf so many times, and she highly recommends this one to me. So I'm going to take a look at it. But a book that I did choose for a book that's on a celebrity book club list is The House of Sand and Fog. Once again, if you want to find a celebrity book club list, Oprah is the first one to come under the search engine. So The House of Sand and Fog is by Andre Dubois. D-U-B-U-S, the third. I believe it was made, this was made into a film with Ben Kingsley and I want to say Jennifer Connelly. So, and it's about this couple whose house has been sold out from under their feet, and a woman is trying to claim it. And it's basically this battle over this house that has apparently a lot of history to it or something. So this one looks pretty intense. So we'll see how that one goes. A book about a family. I'll see how it's going to go, but the one that I have about a family that is torn apart, is The Light Between Oceans. This is another book that I wanted to read last year. It's by M.L. Stedman. But the other one, if it doesn't really have the family-oriented, subject matter, is the one that I didn't really read the entire thing, but I was supposed to back in junior college. This one is called The Makioka Sisters by Junichiro Tanizaki, and it's about the four Makioka sisters and their immediate family and their ways of life. It's almost, if you look on the cover, it's almost like it looks like you're looking at a geisha. And this is in Osaka before World War II. These aristocratic women try to preserve a way of life that is basically vanishing. So this one and The Light Between Oceans, I would recommend for the family books. Another one that you might want to take a look at, which is an intergenerational family, is called Buddenbrooks by, I want to say the author is, I think it's by Thomas Mann. I could be wrong, but I'll look more into that. A book that comes out in the second half of 2023. If you actually type it in the search engine, you'll be able to see all the books that are being published by the month. And I believe the book that Wouldn't Burn is coming out before the second half of 2023. So anything after May or June is considered the second half. I cannot figure out where this book went to. Because of what happened last year, I had to sell my house and move back in with my family due to my health issues. And a lot of the books that I couldn't bring here are now in storage. And I believe that book is buried somewhere in that storage unit. A book about an athlete or sport. My favorite all-time Olympic skating champion will forever be Scott Hamilton. And there's a book that he wrote called Landing It. And this is a man who has beaten the odds. He too has suffered health issues all of his life. But what saved him was ice skating. He skated his way through his illnesses, even through a bout with cancer back in the 90s. So he is a true champion to the core and at heart. So I'm going to read that one as soon as I can find it. A historical fiction book. We can never get enough of those. And the one that I also meant to read last year, but didn't get to. It was actually under a book task at the time called, I'm getting splinters, called A Book of Social Horror. And this one is by Tatiana de Rosnay. It's called Sarah's Key. It takes place, I believe, in France. And it takes place during World War II and the Holocaust. A book about divorce. Touchy subject. But then again, this also has to do with all the single ladies from the independent nation. But this one I came across called The Divorce Colony. How Women Revolutionized Marriage and Found Freedom on the American Frontier. This is by April White. This looks pretty intense too. Talk about, again, women empowerment. Another one that might fall in that category is one that, once again, Darlene Desi had recommended. It's called The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I'm not sure in that story if the woman actually divorces her husband or she just leaves him, but that might be a contender. A book you think your best friend would like. This is something that I would actually love to do because I have a whole bunch of journals with quotes, paragraphs, entire chapters, descriptions, This one is called Distilled Genius, The Illustrated Secrets of Life, a collection of life-changing quotations by Susan Branch. Look at this book here. And this was another book I bought at Vroman's last year when I went after my little excursion to the Huntington Gardens. But what I love, look at these pages. These quotes are all illustrated. And there's even, this book is also interactive. You can, let me see if I can find a page. Just a minute. I know I saw that page somewhere where you can actually write in it. Where is, yeah. So, yeah, how to draw, and there's a couple of pages where you can do your own type of creativity. So, and again, this is for my friend Laura. I would actually check out this one because you and I are both artists, we are both writers, and I think you would definitely love this book, sweetie. So, check it out, Distilled Genius by Susan Branch. Okay, a book you should have read in high school. The list is very long, people. It is not a short one. But the one that I did not read in high school, it depends on what type of class an English teacher is actually going to teach. But you don't really find, it's usually like around the senior year in high school where teachers will often bring in British literature. Otherwise, you're looking at classes for British literature in junior college. But the one that I should have read in high school was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I think I'm going to stick with that one. A book you read more than 10 years ago. Where is that special book? Here it is. I cannot get enough of Rainer Maria Rilke. This book I bought. I'm going to actually have to look back on Amazon. I don't believe I got this at Amazon. I believe I bought this from Barnes & Noble years ago. And this is a collection of two things. It's Letters to a Young Poet and The Possibility of Being. The reason I bought this book was actually because of Whoopi Goldberg's performance in Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. It's the scene where she is confronting Rita, who is performed by actress Lauryn Hill. Rita's got a real attitude problem, and right now their school is facing closure at the end of the term, and they're trying to figure out a way to save the school. So Sister Mary Clarence, as Dolores Van Cartier's alias as a so-called nun, she's called back to whip this class into shape, but instead of teaching a music class, she turns the class into a choir. And Rita loves singing, but there's some sort of baggage that she's carrying with her, and Mary Clarence cannot figure that out. So Mary Clarence confronts her just before she goes home, and she says, "I'm going to give you this book to read. It's by Rilke. It's a fabulous writer." And I'm just going to go over what Clarence says to Rita for the scene. A guy writes to Rilke and he says, "I want to be a writer. Please read my stuff." And then Rilke says to this guy, "Don't ask me about being a writer. If when you wake up in the morning and you can think of nothing but writing, then you're a writer." I'm going to say the same thing to you. If when you wake up in the morning and you can think of nothing but singing first, well then guess what? You're supposed to be a singer, girl. What's your point, sister? What's the point? And then Clarence shoves the book against Rita's chest and she says, "Read the book." So that's the reason I bought it. And believe it or not, actor Andrew Garfield is a big fan of Rilke too. So it's all about waking up in the morning and finding out what your purpose is. If you have something that you love to do first thing and you cannot live without that, then guess what? That's what you're meant to do. So, and again, I'm a huge Andrew Garfield fan, and I'm a dedicated audience member. So he chose acting as his purpose in life, just as the same as my favorite ballerina muse that is still around. She's actually known as a ballerina assoluta. I think it's pronounced assoluta. Alessandra Ferri. She says, "Ballet is not a profession. A profession is something you can walk away from and retire. Ballet for her is life." And so she says, "It's something I will never be able to walk away from. I will never be able to quit." Same thing as Andrew Garfield said, he will never be able to quit acting because that is his life choice. think about it. But I would definitely recommend this one. I did read this book more than 10 years ago, so I'm going to read it again because I have to get back into my writing, into my writer inspiration core here. Okay, a book you wish you could read again for the first time. Is that book around here somewhere? Yes, it is. And I thought I also got this book from Barnes & Noble. Apparently not. It's on my Amazon list. I cannot get enough of this one. Darlington's Fall. It's a novel in verse by Brad, and I hope I get the name right, Brad Lighthouser. And it's about a young entomology enthusiast who goes to the Amazon in search of this elusive Amazonian butterfly species. At the same time, he then discovers a mysterious woman who, like the butterfly, is very elusive. And then there's a sort of parallel between the two of them, and he wants nothing in his life but both by his side. This one might be a little bit easier for some people than me. One that's actually at the bottom of, it's the last one of the normal book prompts. I don't see how it's normal. A book by an author with the same initials as you. So my actual initials are RPF. And the first thing that actually came up, and I cannot believe this happened, RPF came up as real person fiction, which I never heard of. And it's fan fiction, often about actual people rather than actual characters. So imagine writing a story about Andrew Garfield. He is a real actor, but the story that he's involved with is completely fiction. So that is RPF, real person fiction. But other names that came up are Robert Fitzgerald, Roderick Flanagan, Robert Fisk, Ruby Ferguson, Roy Fisher, Robert Fabian, Ruth Fainlight, Roger Fenton, and Raymond Feist. So I will have to check and see what those books are. A book written during NaNoWriMo. I have yet to take this challenge, but she is famous for writing the story during NaNoWriMo. And it wasn't the first book of hers I read. This will be the second one. The first one I read of hers was The Starless Sea. My question is, what was the story? Because that just seemed, talk about the never-ending story. The Starless Sea did not seem to have an ending to it. It just kept going on and on and on. It was a never-ending story, the real one. But the first one she wrote that hit the bookshelves at #1 was The Night Circus. My mother tried reading this one, and she says it got really strange, but I have yet to see for myself. So I'm going to take the first one she wrote and take a look at it and see if I could recommend it. A book based on a popular movie. Talk about a retelling. A retelling of, well, yeah, I would say it's a modern retelling of a classic, The Little Mermaid. But it's based on a movie, and this one, again, has been on the shelves. You see a lot of these fantasy novels based off of, like, the Brothers Grimm or Charles Perrault, like Cinder, for instance. But this one is called Part of Your World, People, A Twisted Tale. Look who's on the cover herself. And we just lost Pat Carroll maybe about a year ago. And guess who's on the cover, people? We have Ursula. I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me Willow Witch. So, Part of Your World, A Twisted Tale. What if Ariel had never defeated Ursula? Hoo, hoo, hoo. So this will be interesting to check out. A book about a vacation. I have a library book called The Vacationers by Emma Straub, who also wrote Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures. Or another book you can also check out is I think it's called The People You Meet on Vacation. So that goes with that prompt. Well, we are coming down to the wire. We are now fully in the advanced book prompts. A book that takes place entirely in one day. How can I put this? I tried to read Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. I don't know if it's because this book didn't have any chapters in it, but I'm a person who needs chapters. I couldn't get into that. So there's also The Hours, which was turned into a film Now it's been turned into an opera with one of my top favorite divas in the world, Joyce DiDonato. Shout out to you, Joyce. That one, I actually want to read one that I didn't read yet. I might want to take a look at the hours if I can't get into this one. But the one I chose for a book that takes place entirely in one day, which I didn't realize this is the case. A book that takes place entirely in one day. Can you really read this in a single day? This is Ulysses by James Joyce, who also is the author of Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. So, and apparently, this one, yeah, with a foreword by Morris, it's a little bit too dark in here, guys, by Morris L. Ernst, and the decision of the United States District Court rendered by Judge John M. Woolsey. So if I'm not mistaken, yes. Oh, yes. The monumental decision of the United States District Court rendered December 6, 1933 by Honorable John M. Woolsey, lifting the book ban on James Joyce's Ulysses. Interesting. So this actually has the actual decision, which goes on for a few pages here. Yeah. And it's actually, yeah, it's right here. That's the decision to lift the book ban on Ulysses. So Ulysses was banned for something. I've yet to figure out what that is. Okay, a book that was self-published. It's really rare that you find a book like this. And where did you go? Did I not bring it back with me? Oh, I'll need to look for that one. It's called The Celestine Prophecy. A book that started out as fan fiction. This one I don't see a copy of anywhere. I'm going to try to see if I can find it somewhere else, but it looked interesting. Point Pleasant. A book with a pet character. The one I have, because I'm pretty sure the pets are still alive. I actually have a couple that go with this one. So a book with a pet. Sorry, there goes the Leaning Tower of Pisa. All the books have tumbled over. I will have to pick them up in just a few minutes. So a book with a pet character. I fell in love, and I'm trying to figure out how I got started on this. I love the books by Jan Karen. She's the author of the Mitford novels with Father Timothy Cavanagh, who suddenly he's an older priest in his 60s, 70s, and all of a sudden his life is turned upside down when a dog shows up at his door, and from there on out, people, his whole life completely changes with twists and turns, but all things for the better. So the next book I'm reading from the series is called Shepherd's Abiding. There were a couple of others that she did write before this, but I don't know. I don't believe I have those copies. But there's two pet characters that come into Timothy Cavanagh's life, and it's his dog that he finds. It's a huge dog that he simply lovingly calls Barnabas. And then there's his soon-to-be wife, Cynthia, whose cat is called Violet. So that would be a contender. The other one I have, which I meant to read this a couple of challenges ago, and what a cute name for a cat. Talk about the Dewey Decimal System. It's called Dewey, with a cat on the cover. And it's the small town library cat who touched the world. So this is based on a real story about the cat who just happened to work at the library. So this is a contender for that one. Let me put the books down where they didn't tumble. A book about a holiday that's not Christmas. When can you not see a book about Christmas? So, and I don't have this one from the library just yet. I'm going to wait until April. But a book that I wanted to check out for April, specifically around Pesach or Passover, is called The Matzah Ball. Interesting title. A book that features two languages. I honestly don't know why this book is listed on there, because I'm looking through the pages. I'm like, where's the second language? So a book that does feature two languages is one that I was going to read last year. It's called Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I think that was the last one she wrote. But the one I have for right now is A Little Princess by Frances Burnett. She's the one who wrote The Secret Garden. But another book I might want to try out again that I didn't get a chance to finish was called The House of Broken Angels. I'm going to try that one. a book with alliteration in the title. So, but I decided to go with this one that I bought at bargain priced, and it's called A Military Miscellany. You see the two M's in there? Pride and Prejudice, same thing. And finally, people, the ultimate challenge. The longest book by pages on your to-be-read list. This is going to be the ultimate challenge. I think it's going to take, personally, an entire month or more just to get through this book here. And it's a book that I've had since junior college. I happened to see the book on the shelf of my professor's book stand inside the classroom, and I have yet to conquer this ultimate challenge, this book prompt. The longest book by pages in my collection. Get ready, people. This is the English translation of Lady Murasaki Shikibu's The Tale of Genji. She wrote the Genji Scrolls in the 11th century during the Heian era of Japan. And this book, if I'm not mistaken, over 1,000 pages. So take a real good look at this. 1,000 pages, and there's so much to take in. From what I understand from doing a little bit of research a few months ago, is Genji is a prince during the time of what they call the floating world. It's almost like in the nostalgic Halcyon days where everything was beautiful and great. People seem to think of it as a type of utopia. But from what I understand, Prince Genji has his way with women. And one of these, I don't want to say she's a courtesan. I don't want to call her a geisha either, but she is a lady of the court. And it's about how his philandering ways with her and other women comes to tragic consequences for this court lady. And it's sort of about Genji's inability to learn from his mistakes, and he has to live with that. So it's just, there's a lot to take in. But this is the longest number of pages, the longest book on my to-be-read list. This is the year that I plan to conquer this bad boy. So we will see what happens with that. So wish me luck. Anyway, so my dears, that is the PopSugar Reading Challenge list. And I will have to pick up this collapsed tower of books that just fell all around me. But yeah, there we go. And I will be doing a short video of the books that I have read, maybe up to about the halfway point for the next time. But yes, so check out the PopSugar Reading Challenge. I will have the printable PDF link down below in the comments. And please click like and subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about the types of books that I am reading. And I'm hoping to see you guys in the next video. So good luck with any of the reading challenges or any new challenge that you're taking up this year. Go for it. Why not?